Welcome to Getting Retirement Right, where we strive to simplify your financial life and provide you freedom from taxes, risk, stress, and poor advice. And now, here are your hosts, Darrin McComas and Shon Peil.
Episode number 2, Getting Retirement Right. I'm Shon Peil.
And I'm Darrin McComas.
Excited to be with you guys today. Going to be covering some great topics.
Yes, especially we're going to focus mostly today's episode on Social Security, which is the backbone for most people's retirement plan.
It really is. You know, you think about it. You've worked 20, 30, 40 years collecting these credits, right? And now we have to figure out how to maximize it. It's your money, but it seems like there's tricks. It's almost like you have to do certain things correctly to make sure you maximize the amount of money you receive.
And we always say it's not as simple as getting online and looking at some Social Security calculator and picking a date on the calendar to turn it on. It's, at least in our opinion, it's a lot more complicated than that. And that's where I think working with a professional can really get you on the right strategy that you should take. And everyone's so different. Everyone's filing strategy really needs to be customized to their situation.
It really is unique. And, you know, we talked about in episode number 1 about the importance of a plan. And so when we look at a plan for you financially for your retirement, it's like pieces to a puzzle. And one of those pieces is literally Social Security. And every Social Security piece looks different because of the rest of the parts of the plan. I mean, it needs to fit together. You need to maximize it. And let's kind of start off with your 3 main options, right?
Yeah, let's get to the basics, right?
Okay, let's start with the basics.
Because Social Security has changed. The rules have changed the last several years, and they've gotten rid of some really cool filing strategies that used to be available. Those are
two
gone.
of the most popular options?
Yes. File and suspend, gone. And let's get into it. So for most Americans out there, they have a choice to start early, filing for Social Security at age 62.
62. You're going to get less benefits, right? It's about a 30% reduction in benefits. And then we're comparing that to full retirement age, which you have to check your date of birth and when you were born to figure out what that looks like.
Yep. And then for a lot of people, their goal is to make it to full retirement age. FRA is the acronym for full retirement age. For most people out there today, that's somewhere around 66, 67. It depends on your birth date. And, you know, we're not going to get into the tables here on this podcast. It's something you can look up pretty easily on the internet. But that full retirement age is when you're entitled to 100% of your benefit for all those years you worked, those 40 credits you've earned over your lifetime. That's when you can turn it on and get that 100% full retirement benefit.
Which sounds great, right? Mm-hmm. But then I get excited about the next option because every year up until the age of 70, that benefit's going to grow by 8%. So you're talking about 32% of growth on top of the FRA number. It's a big number. It makes a big difference for a lot of people's income in retirement.
And then you throw on top COLAs, right? Cost of living adjustments. We just had one of the largest adjustments here in 2023, over 8% bump.
Yeah, you look back, it's been around 1.5%, 2.5%. So 8 point whatever is phenomenal.
And they adjust that periodically due to what inflation is at, what levels we're at here in our country. And you know, that was a big bump for a lot of people, and delaying, you get kind of 2 bumps. You get the COLA and you get that age-related bump.
Well, what's really nice is that 8% bump on $2,000, $160, it's paying for some people's Medicare premiums, which is exciting. So you're saying, okay, guys, we get it. There's these 3 options. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Well, careful. Careful what you think you're going to do, because 96% of Americans, according to Yahoo, choose the wrong time to turn on Social Security. And that you say, okay, maybe that's not a big deal. No, it is. You're talking about over $100,000 in benefits to an American working family, which last time we checked, $100,000 is a lot of money.
That's a lot of zeros, and that's a big, like I always say, it's the backbone of your retirement plan. And you get it wrong, it's irrevocable after 12 months. You can't go back and make a change and undo something. So we got to get it right the first time.
Yep, there's no more paying them back. That does not work. So what's one of the biggest mistakes we see? Or where do you want to go?
Oh, I was going to say, let's go into filing early. Why would someone choose to file early? What are the pros and cons? There's always, pluses and minuses with every decision.
You bet. I mean, I think usually health is one of the biggest ones, right? If there's some major health issues and you're not probably going to live maybe past 70s, maybe 75. What we've found is break even most of the time is around that 12 or 13 mark. So 62 and you're worried about mid 70s, yeah, you might want to turn it on. We also, and we did the radio show for a long time, widows were the number one caller. And the first thing they thought they had to turn on, right, for income replacement was Social Security. And most of the time that was completely wrong. So don't get tricked into thinking, man, I need to turn on this money. You have a big bank theory that's kind of interesting why people are told to turn it on early also.
Yeah, this is kind of my theory, just talking with dozens and dozens of people over the years. A lot of advisors out there will give the advice, just turn it on as soon as you can. As soon as you hit 62, turn it on. And we were thinking, well, why does this advice keep coming up when really in your situation it probably doesn't make a lot of sense? And then we kind of dug into it. Well, if you have money invested with that advisor and they're collecting a fee, right, as they're entitled to do, and you're taking a distribution out of those accounts monthly, quarterly, it starts to add up, especially if you have hundreds of clients. It's a big hit to your revenue. And well, what can slow that down is, hey, turn on Social Security, right? So you slow down the draw out of those retirement accounts, and may not be what's best for the client, but it might be what's best for the advisor and their business. So,
and just because it works in the plan, I'm going to go back and say this, right? Just because it works doesn't mean it's right. Like there's a bit, and that's why this is called, right, getting retirement right. Just because it works doesn't mean it's right. So,
well, I have another issue that's been coming up a lot lately with people that are choosing to file early, and it's this, the realization. There's been a lot of press about this, that Social Security is in big trouble. We're 2034, 2035 is projected to run into a shortfall. A lot of it has to do with the baby boomer generation, huge generation. And the workers underneath and the younger generations just aren't there in the numbers to support the Social Security of this huge baby boomer generation. So people see that and are scared that, well, I just better turn it on early so I can at least collect what I'm entitled to before it runs out of money. And we're like, hold on, let's dig into this a little bit further. Let's really look what that would be if it does run into a shortfall. And honestly, I think any politician worth his salt is going to come up with some solutions, print some money, move the budget items around, because they don't want to be in office if Social Security fails. They'll be out of office, right? Most politicians care about two things: one, getting elected, and two, getting reelected. And let's face it, I think they're going to keep kicking this can as far as they can down the road and patch Social Security as long as possible. So don't make that emotional decision out of fear that Social Security it won't be there or you'll have to take a drastic reduction. Yes, is it a possibility? But I really think that is a small chance.
Yeah, so many rabbit holes. I'm sitting over here laughing. The government has failed to manage a program effectively. That seems strange. But no, I think that there's a lot of different ways that they'll handle it. No one ever runs for re-election and says, hey, by the way, Mrs. Jones, I'm going to cut your Social Security check by 30% next month. I mean, like you said, number two, that doesn't get them reelected.
Yeah, and look who's the biggest voting base, in our country. It's that baby boomer generation. You're not going to want to make them upset. And if anyone has to worry about it, it's our generation and the younger generation. Kids,
more and more people are going self-employed. More and more people are not even contributing to Social Security. Those are the issues. So I don't think the baby boomers are going to run out of Social Security money anytime soon. To your point, yes, instead of fixing it, they'll just Band-Aid it.
Yeah, and and turning it on at 62 out of that fear, it can have detrimental effects to your retirement plan, costing you, like you said, over $100,000 maybe in benefits that you really need, or you could be in serious trouble in your late 70s.
Retirees don't have pensions, and I mean, we have two aunts widowed before the age of 60. You'll hear me talk about it all the time. It is literally the only survival benefit that most of you will be leaving at that kitchen table when you're no longer there.
Yep.
So I love it when we get the opportunity, and this is why you have opportunities to work with us directly and make sure that this is part of your plan. There's always opportunities to get a hold of us, because here's what I can tell you: we have a few high net worth clients in the last 12 to 18 months that came to us to maximize Social Security because it was a conundrum, right? We've seen spouses argue back and forth. I don't want to take it. I want to take it. But what they didn't realize is how that dramatically affected the other pieces of their plan. And nowadays, when you see all the issues in today's world, banking, taxes,
the markets,
I mean, you're literally talking about some major issues if these things aren't correct. That's why we always say, hey, work with a true fiduciary, work with someone that has your best interest at hand. And we're not always sure that that happens.
Okay, so we kind of hit filing early. So anytime between 62 and full retirement age, you can turn it on early. Let's talk about waiting till full retirement age. So kind of dig into the pros and cons of holding off.
Well, and first and foremost, right? Congratulations. You made it. Full retirement age, 100% of your benefit. But the one thing I would ask you in today's markets, today's banking industry, can you get 8% guaranteed on anything?
I can't guarantee any of our clients 8% in anything.
And the one thing I know about the insurance industry and annuities, right, is if there's an income rider that says it's going to make or generate 8%, that's not money you get to take out. So read the fine print, people. Don't get caught up in some crazy bonus or some other structure you heard about. If your Social Security check can grow annually by 8%, and you're able to do that with the right plan because you have other investment accounts or ways to draw that needed income, you should do it. Because here's the other thing we hear. Oh, I'll turn it on and I'll just save the money. I'll put it over here. You're not going to put it anywhere, most likely, that's going to be guaranteed that 8%. So be careful.
Yeah. And I will say, a lot of our clients, their goal is to get to full retirement age. And, it's such a personal decision. But I really think running the numbers, using some financial planning software, looking at the pros and cons of every decision is so important. And then, talking with your spouse, if you have one, and working through some things and come up with the best strategy for you and your household. And it's going to be different than your neighbor. It's going to be different than your brother or a coworker. Everyone is unique. So don't get cookie cutter advice on Social Security.
We get a lot of clients from Boeing, right? And we just had a couple of gentlemen that worked almost identical careers, and their puzzle pieces couldn't be any more different. And it's like, wait a minute, if he was going to do what that family was doing, it wouldn't work, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. So again, it's a piece to your puzzle, has to be done correctly, needs to be absolutely maximized. And the other point is, for a lot of clients, it's not make it or break it, right? Like you could choose either one and maybe you'd be okay. But wouldn't it be nice to know what your true options are? And
I think, one thing to consider too with Social Security is you got to look at taxes too. And if you have large IRA accounts or 401ks and you want to maybe do some Roth conversions, you turn on Social Security, add that income, and you're trying to, maybe taking big distributions or you're doing Roth conversions at the same time.
It's going to limit you.
It gets complicated.
Well, the reason we do our Freedom First retirement process, right, is to make sure you have ultimate freedom with your money and all of your benefits. And so to Darrin's point, right, you can't do it all. You kind of need to pick and choose. The other issue is if you're not doing Roth conversions and then down the road those RMDs kick in, which they just move that back. So that means you have another year to get aggressive and do some phenomenal tax planning. You should be taking advantage of that. That will be maybe our next topic. But the reason I bring that up is those RMDs kick in, and we've had clients sit in our office say, oh, yeah, we don't pay Social Security taxes on Social Security. That doesn't happen. We already did that. Wait a minute. Mm-hmm. Because once those income limits hit certain levels, you're paying significant taxes on Social Security. So here's what that means. Your Social Security check will get smaller. Mm-hmm. It happens. We've seen it happen. And then if that income kicks up, your Medicare premium goes up. So you have less money to pay higher premiums. And you can just see, once again, we always say this, it's a trickle-down effect. Doing this will impact everything else. So you do have to remember, have a plan. Don't just wing it.
Yep. And so a lot of our higher net worth clients who want to do some Roth conversions, they're worried about taxes going up in the future. They want to take advantage of this historically low tax rates now.
Yes.
And we're big proponents of Roth conversions if it makes sense within your plan. They typically will delay Social Security as long as possible. Just take that much more income out of the plan so that we can do bigger Roth conversions. Let that Social Security check grow by 8%, and they get to do the conversions, spend less on taxes. It comes down to your plan. What are your assets? Roth conversions don't make sense for everybody.
No.
And that's where I think working with a professional, running the numbers, looking at all the consequences of every decision and then getting a customized plan that works for you.
Well, you turn on $30,000 or $40,000 of retirement income through Social Security, half of that counts towards your AGI, your adjusted gross income. It's going to mess up tax brackets if things aren't done correctly. And in a country that is in nothing but debt, taxes have to go up at some point. So you'll hear us say it all the time. If you want freedom back into your retirement plan and back in your money, and so you can choose what you do with it, tax planning needs to happen. It needs to happen for probably most of you. Not all of you, most of you will make a difference. So that does play a part in, do I turn it on at full retirement age or do we delay it? And what we can tell you from doing this last handful of years for many clients is you have options.
You have options and you just need to explore those. People are shocked at how much their Social Security could get taxed, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's up to 85% of your Social Security benefit can get taxed at your normal federal income tax rate. So if you're in the 22% bracket, up to 85% of your Social Security check could be taxed at 22%.
We've seen $400, $600 come out of one Social Security check, and people are always dumbfounded. But look, they're going to get it. They're going to get it. So the reason I think the number is so high, that 96%, we were just having this conversation this morning, is there's all these other factors that go into it. And so it just goes back to having a plan.
Yep.
You know, I mean, Darrin and I genuinely believe in order to get freedom back into your retirement, there has to be a plan. And look, a lot of smart people. We have a lot of really smart clients. We're not talking about Excel spreadsheets. We're not talking about whatever Monte Carlo you've seen ran 1,000 times. What our country is going through right now is a tremendous amount of uncertainty. Oh, don't get political. Yeah, throw the politics out the window. What about the debt? The country's never seen this level of debt. We've never seen banks on the verge of going under within like the last 7 to 10 days.
Yep. We're going to hit a debt ceiling in a few months. And
have to.
Something's going to have to break.
Something's got to give
to get that resolved. So let's go into the last filing strategy. Waiting, till the last moment, age 70, right? You can't, no point in delaying it past 70.
Don't tell me you're going to make any extra money by claiming it's 72. We've heard it.
We've heard it many times in some classes and seminars we've taught. I'm just going to wait till I'm 72.
Get an extra 16%. Like, no, that's not how it works. It stops growing at 70. And it's incredibly, it makes a big difference to your plan. And in watching clients pass away in the last couple of years, and then watching the survivor spouse either be under a tremendous amount of stress that she didn't expect, or just completely sad but financially completely okay, it really does make a difference. Because the one thing we've learned, and we've just experienced this the hard way, unfortunately, is, well, how much of the pension will she get when you're gone? Oh, I'm pretty sure she's going to get, let's say, 50%, or she's going to get all of it. And then you find out she gets a lot less or none of it. Or there was a period certain or a different option chose to where, yeah, there is no money there. And it's like, goodness gracious. So if she is sitting there at the table, that surviving spouse with a $2,500 or a $3,000 Social Security check, because that's the other thing. There's another misnomer, right? We need to cover this. You don't get both of them still. Mm-hmm. You get the highest Social Security check if a spouse passes away.
And for the baby boomer generation, typically the male has worked more, has higher earnings over his lifetime. The check typically is bigger, not all the time, but generally. Mm-hmm. And, the spouse stayed home, took care of kids for a certain period of time, got him through that phase of life, and then went back into the workforce. But
a full-time job that didn't pay well. The hardest job in the world.
Most important job.
You
absolutely.
better believe it.
So, for most men out there, they're the breadwinner, and they have the higher Social Security check.
Yes.
And so coordinating that with the spouse is so important. And we talked about it before the show. You got to coordinate your two Social Security timing. They need to complement each other. And again, this is where the planning, we keep saying it over and over. We don't mean to beat a dead horse, but having that plan, looking at all those factors is huge. And a lot of our clients are choosing to wait till 70. They're holding off. That means they're drawing out of those retirement accounts a little more now. And this is why it's so important with all this volatility in the market that your accounts are invested properly, that there's a system behind it, that you have some money that is not getting clobbered in the bear market here, and that you're going to have income for the next several years while you're waiting for that Social Security income to kick on.
Well, I mean, right now we're in a day and age where the 4% rule no longer works. It's severely broken.
Or the 60-40 portfolio.
Oh, yeah, that balance thing is unbalanced. Let's just say that. But again, right, Social Security, there are a lot of facets to it. And I think the important thing that you really need to realize and really go through this with someone is look at your options. Because there are, handfuls of people we see every year that, okay, well, maybe might not make much of a difference. But there are also handfuls of clients where if you don't get this piece correct, it affects everything else. And it kind of ties your hands. We're like, gosh darn it, we wish we would have known this. We have one couple where she turned it on. And it's like, why? You didn't even need the money.
Right. And we have others that turned it on early, and now they're in serious jeopardy of running out of money and way too early. So it's so important.
Yeah, deal with things you know for sure. Like I always say, numbers don't lie. Like, don't tell us you have some waterfront piece of property that you're selling in 2 years and you're going to get $2 million. I don't know if I'd want that deal right now with the real estate and all the issues going on. So deal with what you know. Let's gather the facts, put together a true plan to make sure you have the most freedom possible, because that's really what it boils down to.
Yeah. And it all starts with your goals, your vision. What do you want to accomplish in retirement? Let's build a plan that gets you there. And, here we are, Social Security, there's so many more facets that we could go into.
A couple more things, spousal benefits, right? So if you were married for at least 10 years, there's options there. Not going to get into all of them, but here's the biggest. If you remarried, those options are gone. So please don't think you're going to collect on, we got some rock star women clients, and then the husband remarried and thought they were going to claim on the spouse that made all the money the whole time. Nope, that doesn't work. So the other thing too is options if you keep working. If you choose to keep working and you end up making more money and can replace those lower 35 years of earning, then your Social Security check will go up. But here's the issue. If you try collecting and still working, be careful. Major penalties if you're making too much money.
Earned income limits, right? We've seen clients.
Not very high either. It's low. 20-some thousand a year.
Yep. We've seen a lot of clients retire, turned on Social Security early, got bored, or got in a financial situation, needed a new car, got forced back into the job, and was past the 12 months, so they couldn't change Social Security. And then those earned income limits and penalties, and it becomes a real nightmare. And then, do you pay back the Social Security plus the penalties?
Oh, they're literally keeping $1 for everything you get over or more. And consulting's a really big gig for a lot of clients that have come from Boeing, right? They'll retire and they'll do some contracting work. It matters. Ask the questions first. It's a lot easier to have a plan of attack before you start down that road.
One last thing, if you're divorced too, there's a lot of confusion about, am I entitled to my ex-spouse's Social Security?
There is.
How do I incorporate that into my plan? And again, there's a lot of nuances with that with divorced people. So again, talking with an expert, they can walk you through those decisions and see what you're eligible for.
You know what? It's just kind of like podcast number 1, episode 1. It's like you need a plan. And we're going to keep diving into this. We're going to take questions as you guys have them and answer them right on the podcast, because we want this community to be very interactive. And it's not going to be worth anything if we're not answering your questions and providing value.
Yeah, well, we're getting to the end of this episode. I think we hit Social Security. We got some great information there. Please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. We want to grow this community. We're here to educate and to really help people make better decisions with their retirement.
Yep, get that freedom back in your retirement plan. Keep tuning in every single week. We're going to be doing Getting Retirement Right. I'm Shon Peil.
And I'm Darrin McComas.
You guys have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Getting Retirement Right. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. For more resources, or if you have any specific financial questions, contact us at abrahamco.com. That's abrahamco.com. The Getting Retirement Right podcast and related materials are provided for general information and entertainment purposes only and do not constitute accounting, investing, legal, tax, or professional advice. Visitors should not act upon the content or information found here without first seeking appropriate advice from an accountant, financial advisor, lawyer, or other qualified professional.